Good afternoon. Welcome to CoreTV News at this hour. My name is Omotayo Alo. The Igbos and Hausas in Imo State engaged in a fight 2 hours ago due to the demolition order given by the governor of the state, Rochas Okorocha. At the time of filing this report, security operatives were not at the scene. We bring you details of this particular report in our subsequent bulletins. The claim by a pirate radio station that President Muhammad Buhari expressed anti-Igbo sentiment in a recent interview with the BBC Hausa service is completely false, malicious and slanderous. The voice being ascribed to President Muhammad Buhari in the recording repeatedly played back by the pirate radio station is definitely not the president's, and the claim that the station got the recording from a BBC interview is totally untrue. No one should be deceived by the pirate radio station's aides propaganda against the president. President Buhari has not had any interview with the BBC's Hausa service since his assumption of office, as alleged by the agents of disunity behind the pirate radio station's inflammatory and divisive broadcasts. The last interview he had with the BBC Hausa service, lasting not more than 5 minutes, was on the day he was declared winner and given a certificate of return as president-elect by the Independent National Electoral Commission. The presidency has released details of President Muhammad Buhari's 4-day state where he is slated to hold high-level talks with President Barack Obama. Topping the agenda of President Buhari's talks with President Obama and other U.S. government officials are measures to strengthen and intensify bilateral and international cooperation against terrorism in Nigeria and West Africa. The president, who will meet with President Obama at the White House on Monday, July 20, is expected to hold further discussions with the chairman of the United States Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Martin Dempsey, and the Deputy Secretary of Defense, Robert Work, on military and defense cooperation. He also met with Vice President Joe Biden and conferred with the U.S. Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, the U.S. Secretary of Treasury, Jack Lee, the U.S. Secretary of Commerce, Penny Pritzker, and the U.S. Trade Representative, Michael Froman, on United States support for his administration's war against corruption, as well as fresh measures to boost Nigeria-United States trade relations. Before leaving Washington, D.C., President Buhari will address the United States Chamber of Commerce and Corporate Council for Africa. The federal government has warned Nigerians to be mindful of the activities of admission racketeers demanding payment before scholarship and admission applications are processed. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Macjan Nwanko-Biala, gave the warning while briefing journalists in Abuja on recent development involving the Federal Scholarship Board and admissions in unity schools and federal universities. According to him, the fraudsters are in no way related with the ministry or the board, whose official channel of interaction with the public is its website, which is
the ministry does not, and we want to emphasize it, that the ministry does not charge money to offer admission at any level. If a candidate is not selected on national merit, state quota, or other criteria, there are no agents that will be paid to make the admission possible. We advise the general public and all parents, all stakeholders, all sponsors of the children and Nigerians in general to be mindful of admission racketeers. The general public is hereby informed that these fraudulent persons have no relationship with the Federal Ministry of Education and the Federal Scholarship Board, and that no money is collected for processing and awarding scholarship for admission into the unity colleges or any federal institution.
The People's Democratic Party has alleged that the Director of Department of State Service, Lawal Daura, is interfering with electoral matters currently before some election petitions tribunals. The party further alleged that Daura had even invited some security chiefs and some members of election petitions tribunals with the aim of interrogating them. National Publicity Secretary of the party, Olisa Metu, stated this at a press briefing in Abuja on Wednesday. Metu said members of the National Working Committee arrived at this decision after their meeting in Abuja. Metu added that his party was not happy with the dissolution of validly elected local government area executives in Plateau and Katsina states. The two states are being governed by the All Progressives Congress. He said the council was dissolved by the affected state governments without any court judgment. Metu said in Rivers State, which is being governed by the PDP-led government and where council's chairman and councillors were also sacked. The action was taken as a result of a court judgment. The former Commonwealth Secretary General Emeka Anyoko is convinced about President Muhammad Buhari's determination to bring about positive change in the country. He also expressed confidence in the leadership skills, especially in his readiness to stem the tide of corruption in the country. Anyoko told State House correspondent after a meeting with the president at the presidential villa in Abuja that he has no doubt that he will succeed. The elder statesman revealed that the visits offered him an opportunity to speak with President Buhari on his impending trip to the United States.
I found myself talking with a president who is very determined to effect a real change in the circumstances of our country, and very determined to bring to bear on his administration the generally perceived attributes of his character, for which I believe that many Nigerians voted for him. President Muhammadu Buhari, before he became president, was known as somebody who has very strong aversion to corruption, and I believe that he is determined to fight corruption, and that he will go a long way in doing so.
Ebonyi State Governor Dave Umahi on Wednesday showed up at the presidential villa to discuss the poor condition of federal government roads in the state. He told State House correspondent after his closed-door meeting with President Muhammad Buhari that some of the roads led to the site of natural resources that investors have been showing interest in. He also used the opportunity to express support for the president's anti-corruption measures.
We have issues in Ebonyi State. We have the solution to the problems of the nation in the area of agriculture, in the area of mineral resources like cement, like lead, zinc, bauxite, copper, and even coal, and very large deposit of salt as well. So a lot of investors, on hearing the patronage Mr. President intends to give to local production of these items, besiege the Ebonyi State. They want to invest in these areas. And we have issues. These sites, the roads leading to these sites are federal roads. So they are very difficult to assess, they find it very difficult to assess these sites. And so I came to ask Mr. President for two things. One, some banks are willing to lend money to Ebonyi State to construct these roads, and they want assurance from federal government that when they lend us money to construct this road, the federal government will reimburse them the funds they will lend to Ebonyi State government.
7 witnesses lined up at the All Progressives Congress on Thursday told the Akwa Ibom State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Abuja that there was no election in the state. This was after the tribunal turned down a bid by the PDP for the disqualification of the witnesses on the grounds that their statements did not bear their names. In a short ruling, Tribunal Chairman Justice Sadiq Umar upheld the argument of the plaintiff counsel to allow their testimony. He also fixed a July 22 date for the cross-examination of the witnesses.
Some meaningful and appreciable progress with respect to continuation of hearing in respect of this petition. As a result of the progress that we have been able to make today now, we have called thus far a total of 7 witnesses. So I can tell you authoritatively that we are making appreciable progress in respect of the petition. The hearing, of course, continues.
Okay. When, sir?
Well, it has been adjourned to 22nd of this month for continuation, which is Wednesday next week.
Well, what happened in the tribunal is fairly straightforward. It was the hearing. Witnesses were examined, cross-examined, and where necessary, re-examined. There was little re-examination, but essentially it was a hearing, what lawyers call trial, having to test the truthfulness, the veracity of the story by the petitioner through his witnesses.
In line with its resolve to cut cost of governance, the Kaduna State government has announced the retirement of 20 permanent secretaries. This follows the decision to streamline ministries in the state from 19 to 13 as part of efforts to free up resources for schools, hospitals, roads and other public goods. Special Assistant Media and Publicity to the Governor, Samuel Aruwan, said there will be only 13 permanent secretaries for the 13 ministries. He added that 5 departments will be added by permanent secretaries. These are the Public Service Office, the Bureau of Establishments, Political and Economic Affairs, Cabinet and Security Services, and General Services. This will bring the total number of permanent secretaries in the civil service to 18. We'll be back after this break. Please stay with us.
This is what the people are saying.
You don't run a big economy with generator. They need to do more in terms of energy and power.
Many things to do for this Nigeria about lights, water, and new TT.
For Nigerians that are not gullible, we know that good laws have done nothing good for this country.
Buhari won the election convincingly.
Talk to your husband that you should keep promise about what you said, and because people are watching you, you know, another election is coming.
Because some people will stand for Yoruba land, will be strong man, you don't die.
This nation is moving forward. The best is going to take place.
The people giving voice to the voiceless.
Welcome. If you're just joining us, it's CoreTV News on the hour. And for more news and information, do also visit our social media platform, facebook.com/CoreTV News. You could follow us and also tweet at us at our Twitter handle at CoreTV News NG. Also, stream us live and watch us on YouTube, youtube.com/CoreTV, leave a space and news. Kaduna State government has expressed its readiness to create more jobs by boosting the agriculture sector. Governor Nasir El-Rufai said at a one-day summit that more attention would be in processing and storage of grains. He also indicated that local farmers would be trained in beekeeping and pollination services.
Also need to tackle problems of storage, processing, and the poor bargaining power of our farmers at harvest time. Farming remains back-breaking work. We must make it less stressful and more if the agricultural sector is to realize its potentials as a major driver of growth and job creation. The next challenge is also to encourage and empower women farmers to acquire and adopt modern farming techniques and tools to increase the quality of their products and output.
In a bid to support the call for grassroots sport in Imo State, the Deputy Governor, Eze Madumeri, has decided to give absolute attention to the sector through the recent Eze Madumeri Championship held at the Dan IM Stadium. The event, which features diverse athletes who participated in 800-meter race, 400-meter race, high jump and long jump, was initiated by Lebichi Garrod.
A lot of people are better than me, but we are not able to make it to national level. So since God gave me the grace, I said, let me give back as little as I can to the society. That was why the concept is to teach them, doesn't matter where they are, get them, nurture them, enhance them, expose them, because athletic sports actually is a shortcut to success.
Stated the significance of the event and urged participants to make good use of the opportunity, thereby urging winners of various segments of the event to make use of the opportunity positively.
Sportsmen and women, you are healthy people who are physically and mentally sound. Sports has made more famous men and women than any other vocation. Do not bring shame to your family. Local government and states at large by joining bad gangs and even courtesy in your school.
As part of efforts aimed at saving costs, the Kwara State government has concluded arrangements to streamline and reduce the number of ministries and agencies in the state. This was disclosed by the State Governor Abdul Latif Ahmed in an interactive session with civil societies group in the state capital. Rashid has more in his reports from Ilorin.
In doing so,
the governor, while speaking at the session, says the moment is now for the state to grab the opportunity presented by the current financial crisis to streamline its activities and ensure that the residents of the state gets value for money. Going further, he says the surplus from a reordering of activities by the government will be plowed into developing the state and its human capital optimally.
We must use the current economic situation as an opportunity to diversify our economy and eliminate wastage. In doing so, we will better fund our development by reforming the revenue generation and collection process. This will reduce our reliance on federally allocated revenue. In line with this reality, we will also streamline activities of our ministries and appointments to reduce the cost of governance.
This decision by the government seems to have the support of the people as they lauded the step, believing it will save cost and reduce wastages. They, however, pleaded for the surplus to be used for developmental projects in the state.
What is your view about this?
Well, it's a welcome development. If the savings from the reduction of the ministries and political appointees will be channeled towards strengthening the normal workforce, that is the civil servants, human and capital development in the state. I think ministries could be merged, but departments and agencies where the civil servants are working is sacrosanct, because any attempt to touch that area will resist it from the civil society point of view.
I think it's a work on development and it's a brilliant call, which I believe it will give us nothing but good governance. Because when you look at what is happening, the journey so far, we'll discover that the cost of governance is very high because of the numbers of parastatals, SAs, the numbers of commissioners. But having studied that one of the ways through which we can reduce the financial anemia that is what worry starting from the federation down to the state is to ensure that we constitute a lean cabinet, which I believe is a nice call.
The fears expressed by the people, according to the governor, will be addressed as the savings will be put into use judiciously.
Well, it's not unconnected with the current drop in our allocations. and of course in our resources that is required to run government. It is clear that we cannot continue to do business the way we used to in the past. We need to look at areas to save monies and be able to do other things that are very critical to the people of Kwara State.
While the people may back the initiative, the big task before the government is how to juggle the ministries without alienating any local government council out of the 16 in the state. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ilorin.
The Kaduna State Security Outfit, codenamed Operation Yaki, said on Wednesday that it has uncovered a plot by a terror group, the Sarasuka or Masushara, to attack the state on Salah Day. The coordinator of the Operation Yaki, Yakub Yusuf, who raised the alarm, said security operatives had been placed on the red alert, warning residents to be vigilant during the period. He also cautioned residents against accommodating or harboring strange fellows, as the Boko Haram terror group had changed its tactics of attacks. Specifically, the coordinator urged parents to guard their children against being ready recruits for the Boko Haram sect. Yusuf urged security agencies to change their modes of operation in the current war against terrorists, said places mapped out for possible attacks by the terror groups were worship places, recreation centers, parks, as well as highways. He added that security operatives were being tasked to be more proactive in the areas mapped out by the terror gangs for the attacks. Over 100 students from Ihogbe College in Benin City stormed the street in a protest to condemn what they tagged worsening situation in their school. The angry students called on Governor Adams Oshiomhole to intervene before the situation degenerates. Our Edo State correspondent has more on the story. His report is presented from our studios.
The students who stormed the Edo State government house to register their ranga called on Governor Adams Oshiomhole to stop the principal and other officials of the school from collecting unauthorized levy from them.
We cannot be paying security every term. 200 naira, full car 200 naira. Teacher, especially we have only one math teacher from SS1 to SS3. Junior school don't have math teacher. Why now? Next week is the exam. Exam is next week. We don't shut up. Exam is next week. Then we'll be setting what we don't know.
Nothing to read. A teacher will come in our class. We just write board mass in the class. Show everybody should be dancing inside the class. And number one, we have one boy called Kudili in our class. You collect everybody for everybody. Anything you have in your pocket, if you have phone, you collect the phone. Anything we call the girls, a bagida, a glass man. Their men is said, collect our money. Who's that guy with Chuku inside the school? We have no money. If you want to play inside the school, they'll see our brothers, so should be money. Everything, but Kudili, they'll share the money. They can't go and come in school. Show you going, you collect your phone. I collect your phone, see your principal will share the money. We have nothing in school again.
At Ihogbe College, the gate was under lock and key by the protesting deaf and dumb students who decried their situation as they locked out students, teachers, and the two principals. Allegation that some people used gun to harass and extort money from the students was denied by Umoru Babangida, who is the chief security officer of the college.
So by what I just had now, if allegation of maybe one of my officers is with gun, in our constitution, as the command is concerned, anything dangerous weapon, we don't go with it. Gun, I'm just hearing it now about gun. We don't have gun. We don't use gun. But we have cane. We have cane. And stick we hold, like when they are far, we say, live there, they pick stick. When they see us stick, they now leave. But we discovered that some are putting on our uniform, and whether they are not students. These are the ones we chase out with stick. And as they see us coming, they go through the fence straight, and we follow them. We make sure we trace them. So if you
the school to comment on camera proved abortive, but said the protest by the students was uncalled for, noting that allegations raised by them were baseless. At the State Ministry of Education, neither the commissioner nor the permanent secretaries were around to verify the students' claim.
Sickle cell disease, which is a group of inherited red blood disorder, has affected thousands of people all over the world. Although it cannot be cured, it can be managed. In light of this, a support group to Micro Sickle Cell Disease Support Group has taken it upon itself to create awareness and provide free screening for those affected by the disease.
People all over the world, including World Health Organization, CDC, have been campaigning against, even before I was born. And for the fact that the disease has no permanent cure, the only way is to prevent it. It's going to be free. And that screening is going to be in phases, 3 or 4 times in a year. We will create a database. Understand? We have a form here, we create a database. It may take us 5, 10, 20 years. All right. From that database, we will know the percentage of maybe you are sickler or you are a trait or you are normal. That database will be used as a policy for the government to formulate effect on people that have been affected.
And it's a wrap on CoreTV News at this hour. Thank you so very much for watching. I am Omotayo. Alo.